Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. In today's episode of After Office Talks, I have with me Nitya Dhadwal. She is currently working as a product designer. She is brilliant at her work. My experience in working with her in past says she is a magician who can turn a rough idea on a paper to a working prototype. Thank you, Nitya, for coming to this episode of After Office Talks. It's a pleasure having you on this discussion around product design. So, to start with, if you can give a little brief introduction about yourself for our viewers, that would be great.
All right. Firstly, Jasmeet, thank you so much for considering me. We go way back, and
Mhm.
you still think of me like that. It's very appreciating. Thank you so much. So,
Okay.
about me and my work. Uh, in my past experiences, I have worked with products like Pleo, Nudge, and service-based companies like Contiki Labs and Excel
Mhm.
Paths. Uh,
Mhm.
it was a great experience because I got to build the products from ground up and face challenges that came in the process.
Mhm.
I've held responsibilities of ideating the solutions, advocating users in product development, and leading the execution of those designs.
Mhm.
Recently, I have joined this fast-growing startup Esper with the similar
Mhm. Okay.
responsibilities, and it's a great experience right now.
Okay. Start with a question. Who is a product designer, and how and why do we need a product designer?
All right. So I really feel this question can make it to the
Mhm.
toughest paper,
Yeah.
section C, 10 marks.
Yeah. The reason why I'm asking is like many of would be aware of these titles, like product designer, user designer, the experience designer.
Exactly. There are just
Yeah,
so many of them out there.
yeah.
Well, this title, as you said, has evolved so many times in past years that its
Mhm.
meaning has become, its meaning is different for everyone. And
Mhm.
we come across so many designer job titles, and more often than we realize, they mean the same responsibility.
Mhm.
So, what we have to understand is that a product designer is a person with an attitude of understanding problems and aptitude for solving them.
Okay.
Um, I don't hear this quite often from people in our industry, but something that's totally true is that everyone is a designer in their own way. If
Right.
you're able to if you're able to see a problem, and
Mhm.
if you can find ways to solve it, of course,
Mhm.
without breeding bigger problems, uh,
Mhm.
you are a designer.
Right.
And sure, when you talk of professional product designers, we have to learn various methods to become empathetic, to
Mhm.
practice multiple techniques to generate ideas, and
Mhm.
have to acquire skills to design those ideas. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, we all are problem solvers.
Right.
And in speaking in to speak in context of a digital space, a product designer is someone who's very thoughtful of information and
Right.
sentiments, which
Mhm.
drives a human interaction with technology. So this trait, this quality of giving meaning to the ways we people are using technology makes them very, very important to the concept of product development.
Right. So, just adding to the above question. So, how is like the career trajectory for a product designer? Is it like, people just come out of a school and they become a product designer? Do you think like there are some initial years of nourishment as a maybe UI and then UX and then into a product designer role? So,
So, That's actually very, very important aspect of our journey into this field.
Right.
And I would like to say this to everyone out there who's trying to make it in this field, or anyone who is recruiting for this position. Please understand, it is not important to have a designer's degree from a design school. uh, we designers are we designers are a byproduct of everyday learning and
Right.
awareness. um, our open mind and will to learn new things makes us a better
Mhm.
designer. I
Mhm.
was fortunate to have studied at a design school, and the experience was great. It helped. I'll not deny it has helped me a lot. But design schools uh, 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 design schools are very different. You
Mhm.
get to learn much more from your fellow batchmates,
Mhm.
and sky is a limit there because you're
Mhm.
not confined to books and syllabus. But having said that, I have known people who switched their field, who were
Right.
developer one day and
Mhm.
became a very good product designer without going through any formal education system. And
Right.
in all honesty, they are doing much better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So essentially, it's about what you're learning and not where you're learning from.
Right.
Yeah, I hope
So,
that.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, and one of the interviews that I was also listening to, this was a lady. She was working with Adobe, based out in US, and she had a kind of a gap for like I think 4 or 5 years, and then from development she thought of learning in design, and now she's working in, I mean, one of the best companies, Adobe, without having any knowledge and going to a school. So I think, I mean, correctly said that the school may help you in understanding a lot of other aspects, but it's not the barrier. If you are, I think, passionate about solving a problem, I think to everyone out listening this, if you are passionate about designing it, if you are passionate about solving problems, I think you can start with learning about this, and there's so much out available. Even if you don't have a degree in design, but you can start learning design on your own.
True, true. That's so true. And uh, you know what? Openness to learning is very, very important for us
Mm.
as a designer. The day I believe my learning is done, I think I'll quit being a
Mhm.
designer.
Okay. So, coming to the next question. So, I mean, how is a typical day, a day in life of a product designer? To start.
Okay. We complain a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's on a lighter note.
Mhm.
So, uh, when at work, the look of my day depends on which phase I am in my design process. So,
Mhm.
um, it can either be a day with a lot of discussions to understand the problem, or it
Mhm.
can be a day with a lot of sessions with teammates to brainstorm ideas, or it
Mhm.
could be a quiet day where I'm sitting in the corner designing and prototyping, or
Right.
uh, or it could be a day I'm nervous, like anything, because the designs are going to the development team and I'm getting feedback or I have to read.
Right.
So
Right.
essentially, it depends on the phase of my process.
Process.
But product design, as we know, is a constant loop of analyzing, measuring, and then designing, which makes
Mhm.
collaboration the backbone of our process.
Okay.
So, whatever you do, whichever process you follow, it's very, very important for you to keep yourself connected with your teammates across the team and always planning ahead.
So, I mean, just uh, while you are on the collaboration part, so just I'm curious to know, like, what are the stakeholders that you normally interact on a day-to-day basis, or a product designer interacts on a day-to-day basis in terms of teams, I mean, the cross-functional teams that you interact with?
Uh, so I have this belief system that nobody is stopping you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, your agenda is to gather all information. Your
Right.
your uh, your uh, your aim is to be well aware of your problem. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, depending on the kind of problem you're dealing with, and again at which phase the problem uh, uh, is being faced, it
Mm-hmm.
depends. For example, if it's a very conceptual problem,
Right.
for example, if you have to develop a feature from the start, we have
Mm-hmm.
to we have to have discussions with the CEOs and the
Mm-hmm.
product owners
Right.
about how they feeling about this feature, and then
Mm-hmm.
have to talk to all the people in sales and marketing so that we get to know their perspective as well towards the feature.
Right.
uh, and if for example we are working on uh, something which is broken and we have to fix it, so we need to know directly from the users uh,
Users.
what exactly is the problem. So the thing is, again, the users might not be
Right.
able to tell you what their problem is, but you still have to interact with them and
Right.
know their side of story.
Right. So, I mean, coming to my next question, if I would if I would ask, like, what are some of the tools that you use that you would recommend to the budding designers to use? I mean, again, covering up the various aspects, like, I mean, one part you mentioned brainstorming, and then prototyping, and then whiteboarding. So, I mean, different processes would require different tools.
Yes.
But what are some of the tools that you use for different processes and would recommend others as well?
So, just with my go-to tool has always been paper and pen. Uh,
Yeah. Okay.
I am very traditional that way.
Right.
I,
Right. Right.
I always keep a pen and a notepad in my bag,
Yeah.
and they're always by my side. In fact, you won't believe once I was on a dining table. I was having discussion with my parents, and I was taking notes on my
Right.
notepad. So I'm
Right.
that dedicated and that
Yeah.
loyal to pen and paper. But given our current situation, um, where we do not have any other option but to work remotely,
Right.
it's we need to extensively use online tools and collaborate well. So
Right.
apart from all the tools that we use at enterprise level, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the few products which I personally love to use are are Trello, Flow Map, Notion. So these um, these are the products which help me do my research and
Mm-hmm.
plan properly.
Okay.
I am an abusive user of Trello. I
Okay.
uh, I think the moment I open a new tab, Trello is the first home screen that comes up.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and for designing and prototyping, these days I'm working on XD,
Okay.
but till last year I was using Sketch. So
Okay.
my funda is that you should not be restricted by a software because
Mm-hmm.
uh, uh, there always be a new software in the market with a
Right.
better feature. So
Right.
it's not something to restrict you. Uh, have a
Mm-hmm.
skill to always keep learning these softwares, but
Mm-hmm.
mm, yes.
So I think I mean there's very I mean you talked about Sketch, and I mean you were using, so I think the whole community, I mean I have been also like working on some designs like in the past experience. So I think the community is like kind of divided, like the Sketch users and the Adobe users. So I mean, it's tough to decide like what's the best. I mean, still you'll find like thousands of videos talking about the pros and cons of both. And if someone is working on a sketch, then he may not like what the other guy is doing in Adobe. I mean, the output might be the same in terms of like solving a problem, but then there are certain preferences set by people in terms of using some tools.
Yeah, it's a little difficult as well. For example, I since 2015 I was using Sketch, and
Mhm.
I've always been tried to make this gradual shift from Sketch to Adobe, but I couldn't always force myself. But now that I have to use XD for about good few 3-4 weeks, I had difficulty in changing my mind frame,
Right,
but
right.
not impossible, and
Yeah.
no one should always restrict themselves.
So I mean, so the one who are just starting up. So I mean, in terms of the learning curve, if I would to ask, like which one is the most simpler or one should start with? I mean, who's just starting up in the design domain? So any preferences around that?
Um, I So if you're just starting, I would suggest use XD.
Okay.
It's got very good it's got very good flexibilities. They have very interesting plugins that you can explore, and
Mhm.
Adobe, as we know, is a very
Right,
progressive software giant.
right, right.
I'm somewhere married to Sketch.
Yeah.
As in, I still go back to Sketch at times, but
Okay.
I would suggest people to use XD and to give it a shot.
So, I mean, the last I was using Sketch, I mean, it was, I think early 2019, I stopped using that. But is it available in Windows? It was available in iOS only, right?
It's still available only on iOS.
Okay. So now everyone knows the answer where to. Okay. Even if you have a Windows, then Adobe you have to go for sure, and if you have a Mac, then you have a choice to decide. Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
To the next question, if I would ask, like, what are the top qualities, skills one must develop to have a career in this field? Uh, I mean, so I think the bits and pieces we already answered, like, do we need a design background or a design degree or not? But what are the top qualities and the skills, if you can tell a little more in detail?
Right. So, hands down, eagerness to learn more is the most important quality, as in, like, you have to stay curious, you have to absorb knowledge from everywhere possible. But there are definitely other qualities that makes you a good designer. um,
Mhm.
to name few, uh, I give a lot of emphasis on paying attention to details, as in, unless and until you understand and you are able to catch that minute detail, you
Right,
might know the problem around it.
right.
Uh, Being able to express yourself, very
Mhm.
extremely important. You might
Mhm.
have an idea, you might have a very valid point, but
Right,
unless and until you're able to express yourself, uh, that idea is of no good, right?
right.
uh, the other very important quality or quality that we should have as designer is sensitivity towards differences, as in, uh,
Mhm.
for uh, uh, for one particular problem, you and I might have different opinions, but as a designer, need to know that even if two people are different in their opinions, they both can be right. And
Right,
things like that makes you a very empathetic designer, if
right,
I say.
right. So I think also adding to what you said, I mean, very valid. But one point that I would want to highlight is like it's very important for any designer. Like, why did you design? is more important than how did you design. So the
True.
reason for why that should come, like while whenever you're designing up for a product, a website, or any MVP or something, it should come like why I am designing and why it's gonna be designed like this way, rather
True.
than like how you're designing. So that is what
True.
I believe.
Very, very true. Actually, this why is like the most important term for us in the process of designing. Unless and until you're able to understand this why, and you are able to articulate this why in your process, it's very important.
Okay. So, I mean, just coming to end of our conversation. Uh, so any product that you are kind of a fan of in terms of design, or any product that you use very often, but if if you were given a chance to redesign, what would be that? Uh,
Okay. So I'll mention two different products because I have a little different approach towards both of them. I am a big fan of Trello. I
mhm.
I simply I just simply love that product. Uh,
Okay.
as I said that I've been abusively using it, uh,
Mhm.
and their sign up process is great learning. uh, they have so many features and functionalities in their product, but it's kind of intuitive and yet very flexible for people to interpret it and use. But in case I have to redesign it, I do not think I'll be able to
Mhm.
redesign Trello to anything better.
Okay.
So that's why.
In a conversation around the product design, the various processes. So we might want to go a little deeper some other day, but in the matter of time, I think this is a good for the viewers who are just starting in this domain. And anything that you would like to add into the conversations for the beginners or who are already in the field uh, around the product design and this domain. So, what would be that? If you want to end these conversations on that on a lighter note.
uh, Product design is a very, very interesting field,
Mhm.
and there is more to what you just see on screen and work on screen.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
uh, for people who are even slightly interested towards product design, read a lot. You will see what we as product designers do to facilitate people's communication with technology, and
Mhm.
that will actually like blow your minds away. Oh, we never thought there were such minute details that are considered when designing.
Right. And any.
I would recommend everybody who has a little time in their hand right now
Mhm.
to upgrade their portfolio, or to enhance their portfolio and include this aspect of design extensively.
Right. So. Thanks for taking out time, and I think if we can cover the topics that we think that are kind of a more detailed. So maybe some other episode will surely cover that. And if you have, I mean, the viewers who are watching this, if they have any suggestion that they want us to cover, so we can they can comment, and maybe we can have Nitya back again for another episode and a detailed episode on that specific, maybe on the tool or maybe the process. Thanks for coming, Nitya.
Thank you so much, Asmi, for having me here and having this lovely conversation with you.
Yeah.